Hey, welcome. So if you trade zero-day options, I'm willing to bet you've been told to use a fixed stop loss to manage your risk, right? But what if that one rule, the one you think is protecting you, is actually forcing you to make the worst possible decisions? Okay, let's dive into this because we are about to flip that entire concept on its head. The source material for this explainer, well, it doesn't pull any punches. It says the standard way of thinking about risk is, and I'm quoting here, mathematically insane. That's a pretty bold claim, isn't it? Well, today, we're going to unpack the math that shows why this might just be true. All right, so let's get right to the core of the problem. For years, the accepted wisdom for managing risk in super popular strategies like zero DTE Iron Condors, it's been fundamentally flawed. We're going to break down exactly why the rule you've been following is probably costing you money. Now, this should look really familiar. The rule of thumb is super simple. If your trade loses 50% of the premium you collected, or maybe it hits a specific dollar amount, like a $500 loss, you get out. It feels logical, it's easy to do, and it's what almost everyone teaches. But here's the thing. It's a linear rule trying to survive in a non-linear world. And here is the question that really gets to the heart of this whole thing. What if that simple, logical rule is having the exact opposite effect that you want it to? What if it's systematically kicking you out of trades that actually have a pretty good chance of recovering, while at the same time convincing you to hold on to positions that are just ticking time bombs? So the reason your stop loss is backwards, it all comes down to one crucial variable that your P&L, your profit and loss, completely ignores. See, it's not about the dollars you've already lost. It's about the rate at which you could lose them. It is all about gamma. So what the heck is gamma? Well, the technical definition is right there, but honestly, the best way to think about it is risk acceleration. If delta is the speed of your position's P&L, then gamma, well, gamma is the gas pedal. A high gamma means just a tiny move in the stock can cause a massive explosive change in your option's price. And this right here is the most important point. Your dollar loss might move in a pretty straight line, but gamma, no way. It is an exponential force. As that clock ticks down on expiration day, the gamma of your options, especially the ones near the money, doesn't just rise, it absolutely explodes. Okay, now let's just look at the data here. At the 9:30 a.m. open, gamma is a tiny 0.08. Now just follow that column down. By 12:30, it's doubled to 0.16. By 2 p.m., it's more than quadrupled to 0.35. And then by 3 p.m., just 1 hour before the close, it has ballooned to 0.45. Your risk acceleration has gone up by more than 5 times, even if the stock price hasn't moved an inch. So this explosive nature of gamma leads to a really strange, counterintuitive reality that we're going to call the gamma flip. This is the part that breaks most standard risk models. And it's what turns your P&L-based stop loss into your worst enemy. Let's play a little game. Look at these two scenarios. Scenario A, you've got a big P&L loss, but it happens early in the morning. Scenario B, a much smaller dollar loss, but it's happening late in the afternoon. Now, based on everything you've been taught, which one is more dangerous? Which trade should you bail on immediately? The answer is scenario B. That small loss late in the day is exponentially more dangerous than the big loss early in the day. And if that feels totally wrong to you, it's because we've all been trained to measure risk with the wrong ruler. And here's the really crazy part, the flip itself. So, as time passes, gamma gets bigger. We know that. But if the stock price moves and puts your trade in danger, the gamma right at your strike can actually become lower than the gamma further away. This creates a trap. A trade with a small dollar loss late in the day can be hiding catastrophic levels of risk acceleration, just ready to blow up. Okay, so if the common method is so flawed, how do the pros approach this? Well, they don't ignore P&L, but they absolutely understand that gamma is the true measure of imminent danger. Let's see how this completely changes the decision-making process. Let's look at the left side, our morning trade. A 55% loss. Your stop is triggered. You get the red light, you're out. But look, the gamma was a manageable 0.15. Now, check out the afternoon trade on the right. Only a 30% loss, so your stop gives you the green light. It says, hey, you're safe. But the gamma is a toxic 0.42. That's nearly 3 times higher. So let's be really clear about what just happened. Your fixed stop loss just made you exit a recoverable trade with pretty low risk acceleration, while forcing you to hold a ticking time bomb with explosive risk. You literally did the exact opposite of what the math demanded for you to survive. Okay, now let's rerun that exact same scenario, but this time with a pros logic. We'll set a stop based on an absolute gamma threshold, let's say 0.30. In scenario 1, the gamma is only 0.15. You hold the trade. But in scenario 2, the gamma is 0.42, which is way over our threshold. You exit immediately. It completely flips the decision, and it correctly identifies the real danger.
So how do we put all this together into a smarter framework for ourselves? It's really about evolving your rules to account for the reality of how risk actually behaves on expiration day. Here's a new framework. First, just acknowledge that a 50% loss at 10 a.m. is not the same as a 50% loss at 2 p.m. A good starting point, the good move, is to just tighten your P&L stop as the day goes on. Maybe it's 50% in the morning, but only 20% in the afternoon. But the pro move? That's to stop looking at P&L as your main trigger and start using absolute gamma thresholds. Because at the end of the day, it's the gamma that blows up your account, not the initial dollar loss.
And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. Your P&L, it tells you what just happened. It's a measurement of the past. Gamma tells you what could happen in the very next instant. So are you making decisions by looking in the rearview mirror, measuring today's explosive, non-linear risk with yesterday's simple linear rule?